Okay, here we go. Let's press on with the front pickup. We've got the P90. Now the thing with the P90 pickup is that they aren't adjustable in height. They're meant to be actually screwed hard to the wood, the body wood of the guitar. I don't know why, or whether it, by folklore it does have an effect apparently. But you adjust the height by just bringing up each pole piece, sort of thing. So the pickup is screwed hard down. I don't really want it to have these pole pieces sticking up miles, sort of thing. So I want the height to be quite accurate, which is basically, about the same depth as the pickup cover. Now I have this 1953 Les Paul template, so again with the center line, so I can just line it up perfectly, so I may as well utilize this, and you'll see that the pickup fits perfectly in there, so everything can line up. So what I'll do now is I'll clamp this down on here so everything can't move. I mean, I could do the super glue and shit trick again, but no, I can easily clamp this. So then we can get routing this, but I'm going to be quite careful with the depth, so I'll call you back when it's all ready to go. Okay, so we're ready to go here now. Exactly the same process, so let's just give it a go. So I just want to measure the depth of the slot now. And the depth of the pickup cover is 16 millimeters, so don't want to be quite that deep. It's probably dead right as it is, because obviously the pickup's got to come out a little bit. So there we go, there's the front pickup, and that will go in there nicely like that. What you have to do with the P90 as well is it's got the long screws for the Whatsit, so I'll have to glue two sort of side bits of wood in there, so these screws on the back go in between it, so then that'll jack it up to the height of the fretboard roughly, and that'll be really nice. So okay, so I'm getting a bit further down the line in doing this truss rod. I've cut a truss rod adjustment hole in there, just basically with a drill, and angled it downwards a bit, so that will take the Allen key now for the end. With this old truss rod I had, it was originally covered in like a shrink wrap. So what I've done is I've put clear tape around it, packing tape, but I covered the round bar with oil, just wiped it with oil so the tape wouldn't stick, which it doesn't, and it's just sticking at the top on itself basically, so doing the same job. So I just want to check that it's still working, which I can see it is plainly. Wouldn't expect anything otherwise really, but the thing is, you when you put this in, you don't want to get glue all on the rod or anything like that and stick it together, otherwise it won't work. Oh, hi there again. We're getting ready now to glue the fretboard on. You can see that I've actually drilled and put pins in the fretboard here and at the end, and basically got holes in the end of this and the end of that, so they'll go over the two pins and locate the fretboard and stop it sliding when the glue's on there. Obviously I need to get the fretboard on accurately, and pins is a good way of doing it. The trouble with with pinning is really you need quite substantial pins. You know, if you, for some people say, oh, we'll drill a hole and put a toothpick in, that's not good enough. You know, it can still slide, and I don't know, these are metal 2.5mm pins kind of thing that I can pull out later. The only slight downside is, you know, I've got a hole in the fretboard up here now, sort of thing. But it's ebony, and you'll never ever see it. But I could have left the last fret out and put that in later and drill through the fret slot. But you know, I'm not too bothered. That's fine. So we're ready to glue it on now, and glued it. And one thing I do when I glue the fretboard down, because it's curved, you know, it's cambered sort of thing, I've got a clamp-in coil, very simple. You can see exactly what it does. It's got raised edges on it, so it pushes down on the edge of the fretboard to make sure that the edges are mashed down, sort of thing, under clamping. So let's go ahead now and get all this glued down. Check all the surfaces are nice, got nothing standing up. As we've said, that I've just felt there, and it just feels as though there's a slight edge on there, so I'm just going to run. Oh no, it's actually all right. So it looks as though we're all good to get this glued on now. Truss rod is in where it should be. There was a bit of junk underneath it at this end, so cleaned that out. So everything's good, all ready to go. One thing I should add is when you drill these pins, do them near the centre, because that's where the neck's going to be the thickest, so you're unlikely to drill, you know, deep enough that, you know, when you carve in the back of it, you'll find a hole appear, and it's like, oh shit. But anyway, I'm going to get gluing this on, and I'll call you back when it's all clamped up. Well, here we go. Here's the whole thing clamped on now. No problem at all. Like I say, if you make the pins solid, it works well. I mean, you can do it without pins, but I still check it after, and I can see that it's nice and central anyway. But I did use the feeler gauge with that end on it, and basically, like, you know, push it on there just to check that it's nice. I can see on this end that it's dead right, because it's wider, and that's away from the fretboard is just a fraction narrower than the neck blank. Okay, so we're back on the body now, here, and I'm trying to decide what to do about the control layout. I've got like the standard Telecaster here, where, you know, you've got the plate on the top. Obviously we're not doing that, we're going in from the back. Misses. But anyway, I also have an old pick guard from a thin line, so I've put that on there. I've drawn around that, so I know roughly where the standard Tele controls go. I've got this pick guard that you know, lays out the thin line controls. The only thing I think with the thin line is the knobs are very close together, which I'd prefer to go more like the normal Telecaster, where they're a lot further apart. So what I think I'm going to do is I don't know if you can see it, but I've drawn a line sort of about that angle kind of thing. I mean, I don't know. I don't want the switch too close to the pickup in case you whack it. So I was thinking of something like that for the layout of the switch and whatnot. So let's have a bit more of an investigate on. Well, I've got a couple of knobs on it now, and you know, I've gone wider apart than the thin line, and I think they look aesthetically quite nice. The switch comes just about here, if I copy the layout on the thin line, So I may push the switch forward a little fraction, but I think knob wise I think we're in the right place there. So you know, I don't want to sort of put the knobs askew or something like that, because you end up with like a messy looking back plate on the guitar, which I don't want. I just want to keep it simple kind of thing. So I'll mark where those knobs are now, and probably drill right through the body so we know where it's going on the back. And yeah, I mean, got to make a decision and get on with it kind of thing. So let's do that. Well, this is one of my most risky jobs, actually cutting this slot for the switch. And you know, if I have a metal Telecaster, well, I think we're within finish at sanding now. So here's the neck, back profile and whatnot and stuff. It's almost identical to this one. Feels a bit fatter actually, but I'll have to measure it and see. I mean, it can be difficult because this is actually a 12-inch radius fretboard, whereas this is 9.5, so that can make it feel different, but it doesn't feel inordinately thick or anything like that. So but there we go. Let's see and introduce it to the body, and we'll get an idea of what this thing will look like. So there we have the body now, and got a bit of glue in the fretboard. That should fit. So there we are. We're getting it's looking like a finished guitar. Everything fits really well. Let's see where we are with the neck. I mean, if this isn't straight, I'll be a bit pissed off, but yeah. So we're all right with that there, I think. The neck is very much in line of where it should be, and so there we go. I think that looks quite smart to me. That's exactly what I was envisaged when I started, sort of thing. But I don't know quite what's next now. I actually like I like the neck joint like that. Like everything about it, actually, really nice. So what I think I can work on doing now is the frets, start getting the frets level, so we've got something to go from to set the neck angle, and I think we'll all be good. Oh, it's time to have a rest indoors, I think. Sort of thing, and we know that, you know, with the Telecaster all the controls fit in there nicely, so not too much bother. So what I think I'm going to do is initially cut through, use this template, route through, and then we'll see. We've obviously got to make the hatch bigger and sit inside in a rebate sort of thing. So first of all, let's get the hole cut out in the back, and go from there. Then we can work on the hatch. It's really good. Welcome back a bit. I have phone packed in then, I don't know why. So we've got plenty of thickness here, so I can cut a rebate in to put a piece of wood in there and have it fairly thick, which is what I want, because I don't know if you remember, but when we built this guitar, because we were putting the rosewood top on it, we actually put a new bandsaw blades in and sliced some wood off the back. So we have got some exact matching grain wood, and if I'm looking at it, this one obviously belongs to the top, because you can see that I know you can't see it, but you can see that dark bit there, and I think that must line up with a bit that's marked on there. So pretty sure this comes from the bottom here. Have to work out which way it was and what not, but at least you know, I can get a matching grain. I can get a matching grain control panel sort of thing. So that's going to be a really nice feature. It was a bit of class there. Okay, I've made a quick template for this this hatch. So I'll be cutting a rebate around the hole we made earlier, sort of thing. So I've got something for the hatch to go on. I've got this tiny little router cutter, bearing guided, that should do the job, and it's very short. So hopefully we can, let me get me glasses and have a check to see that. Obviously I want to cut a rebate and not all the way through, so I think that looks fine. So let's get this done. Okay, I think that went very nicely. Let me get back to the normal bench and I'll show you.
Couple of weird things.
What's that? Oh well, here we are. So we've got that rebate cut. Now making a template like this is pretty simple. You want nice round edges, obviously, if that's the design you're going for. So first of all I drill a hole, you know, like that one that I did in the wrong place, but drill a hole for each end, and then you can just whiz through with the bandsaw there. It's neither here or there, that little cut that doesn't affect the router bearing, and then cut these edges and file them. So let's have a look, see how we did. I think that's pretty much perfect, isn't it? We've got we've got a fair thickness on the edge there for a screw to go in, kind of thing, and enough landing at either end for a screw to go in. So we're all good with that. And I don't know if you can see, just in there you can see the back pickup hole. So I think we'll easily be able to get, you know, basically what we're going for is we've got to imagine this is the hole pickup, put it in there, slide it through there, and hey presto, there it is. So we can get the pickup in easy enough. So that's worked out very well, and so it's all looking good now. And the sneaky advantage of building a template like this is now you can, you know, you've got your piece of wood like that, you just plonk this on top, draw around it, and you've got the outline for your hatch as well. So all good. I'm gonna have a coffee. Well, regarding this back hatch I'm doing, trying to find what the grain, a matching grain pattern in this wood is really difficult. I mean, it's so messy, but I've got the right side of the bit we cut off on here lined up with the centre line there, which I think is right. Then I've just basically positioned it with some lines and stuff, and then like drawn the hatch on. So I'm hoping that is the place that the grain came from. I mean, so I've drawn the hatch on here, so we'll get out and cut that out now on the bandsaw and go from there. Okay then, after a little sanding, we've got the hatch fit in now, and you can see that the grain is great. It's all in the right direction and probably from roughly the same place as the back slice was cut from, but I think it just looks quite classy having matching grain rather than a black plastic cover or whatever. Or some people put in different coloured wood covers and things like that, and I'm just like, that's my favourite way to do it. I just think it should be as invisible as possible. When you actually fit the hatch, make sure you do leave probably half a millimetre around the whole thing, because don't forget you're spraying it and you're adding a few layers of paint or lacquer to each surface, sort of thing, on both sides. So leave it, leave a little bit in there for that, otherwise you'll have to end up scraping it out and things. So that's all good. It's looking very nice actually, so pretty darn good. And oh yes, what I made a slight boo-boo in the front pickup cavity. Basically I cut it a little bit deep, as I was saying previously, like when you do a P90, ideally it should screw hard down onto the wood, and then the pole pieces want to be adjusted. So I'd actually cut the cavity too deep, so I've glued these strips in. I mean, I've seen it done that way before, but what I should have done is had the bottom of the routing that much higher and then cut a groove in the middle for the pole screws. You can just see in there as well, see the hole for the wire channel. That's now picked up there and comes out in the rear cavity, so we've got a wire place, but hopefully that will screw in there nice and tight and still be slightly below the level of the strings, which will be nice. So I think really now the body is pretty much finished, apart from jack socket hole, and next job is going to be getting the neck back up to speed. Once we've got the neck done, then we can fit the bridge again and do the neck angle for the best starting point for an action. But yeah, I think we're all pretty darn good here now, so I'm quite happy with our progress. It might have seemed a little bit rapid, but like I say, this guitar I wanted to build a Telecaster anyway, I can't deny that, but this guitar is on quite a tight budget, so I can't spend forever and a day doing stuff on it, but hope you agree that it's going to be a nice, classy, simple guitar sort of thing. So yeah, all good so far, and we'll be back and working on the neck tomorrow, I guess. Thank you very much for watching, and cheerio from 3R Guitars. Hi, and welcome back to 3R Guitars today. It's the afternoon now. I was working on a setup for someone's guitar this morning, but just you know, the last thing we did yesterday was clamp this fretboard on and glue it on. Yeah, everything's fine, sort of thing. We actually pinned it and stuff, so should be all okay. Yeah, so what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to set up the bandsaw with my straight blade and cut the edges off here, so you know, the neck will no longer be square but approaching its final shape. So let me get the bandsaw set up and we can go from there. Here we go, we got the trusty bandsaw with the wider blade on it, the new blade, so I can cut these edges off. It may seem a bit of a pain in the arse having to change blades on the bandsaw, but just so you know, it literally takes about 2 minutes to do, so it's not really a great issue, but let's get cutting these then. So here we go, we've got the bandsaw. I wasn't thinking clever yesterday, because what I should have really done is, while the fretboard was on its own, I could have filed these frets a lot. I mean, they're very close to the edge, but I've only just snipped them off. But while the fretboard was as it was, I could have run it along a flat surface with paper on it and taken these frets down a bit more, because when I was cutting the edges here, although they're close, could have been even closer and saved me a bit of work, because I didn't want to catch the bandsaw on the edge of the frets. But it's okay, it's not an issue really. I can quickly address that, and then we can get on to actually shaping the neck. Righto, welcome back. I've actually trimmed the edges of these frets a bit, or filed them a bit closer, so they're out the way now for any carving we want to do. You won't catch files in them or anything. The first thing you want to do in the shaping of the neck is actually get the thickness of the neck right. Now, here's a standard kind of 60s profile strat neck, which I personally think are very comfy. So at the first fret, you're looking at 21 millimeters, and at the 12th fret, probably looking at 22, just over 22. Yeah, we're 22 and a half. So basically, it's got like a nearly, you know, 1.5 millimeter slope in the thickness. And what you want to do first now is get the back of this neck down to that thickness, and then you can go for there. When you measure the thickness of an existing neck, if you want to copy it, be careful that, you know, this shaping into the back of the heel, in the back of the headstock, is out of the way by the time you measure it, sort of thing. And equally here at the 12th fret, you can see actually the transition into the heel starts a bit early, so, you know, measure it around the 11th fret or something. I mean, some people go from the 2nd fret to the 11th, because, you know, in between there it's flat. I mean, you can see the back of that, so we can go first to 12th fret on there, kind of thing. So but yeah, first thing to do is to get this all down to thickness. So let's go and do that now. I mean, you can do it with a file. I've actually got an easier way of doing it, but I'm not sure if I'd recommend it for people without a lot of experience, so I'll show you what I'm going to do anyway. Right, it may look a bit of an oddball way of doing things, when you come to cutting the width, the depth, the thickness of the neck, if you put it in the bandsaw and try and do it, you know, you're balancing it on the headstock at that end, and you know, you've got to stop it wobbling. I mean, you can do it, but I tend not to like it. This thing is like basically a giant cheese grater. Giant? No, it's a cheese grater basically. And although it looks a bit crude, it is actually quite a good way of removing wood sort of nicely and controlled. It probably suits more people than others, but you know, I don't mind it. But I'll show you what we do with it. So you saw how that works, and yeah, it works quite well, because we've taken, you know, a good 1/8 of an inch off just in that short time, and we're nearly down to the line. It's surprisingly controllable, but I've stopped short of the line by about 1/2 millimetre, and you know, what I'll do now is finish it off by with my rasp, and make sure it's square again, and we're starting from a good place. So let's get back to the bench and hack away at it with the rasp. What I'm going to check as well is that you know, we've not sloped across the thing. So at the on this side of the neck, about like 26 millimeters there, and on that side 26.4. That's good enough for me. Let's do it at the second fret here. Be 22.95 there, and .03 there, so we're very close. So I'll now shufty down to size with the old rasp. The trouble is with maple is it's a very hard wood, and you know, filing it by hand can be a real ball ache sort of thing. So you know, if you can find a quicker way of doing it, you know, your patience isn't tried so much sort of thing. So anyway, let's get filing this. I won't record this bit. Right, hi there, back again. We've got the neck finally planed, filed to the right thickness. It's still slightly fractionally thick, obviously, to allow finishing. Now, one of the sort of standard ways, I guess, of shaping a neck is draw a centre line down it. I mean, on this neck we've obviously got a centre line anyway with the what's it, and then bisect the distance from the centre to the outside edge in half and draw a line up there. Do that both sides, and then on the side draw another line halfway down. And what you want to do in the first instance is where I've shaded it there, just chamfer this off, this area off, both sides, and then continue to bisect the flats, if you like, in half. So you build the neck up in a series of flats, and you're sort of guaranteed to get both sides the same. So what I'm going to do now is remove this section here. I'm going to do that with the cheese grater thing again, because it's nice and quick, and bring you back when I've done that. Right, okay, welcome back again. Right, you can see that I've got both those chamfers done now. I'll finish them off with the rasp quite easily on the bench like this. Make sure they're straight. Oh, that's quite hard work, that. But now you can see why I use the old cheese grater thing. So right, we've got the first two chamfers done on it. Now what you want to, at this point you've done the most gutty bit sort of thing. So now draw a line down the centre of that chamfer, and just in the centre of this edge here, and cut that off. So I mean, you can measure it, but I don't know, I've got fairly good eye for it now. So get that one drawn in. That one drawn in, and then we can draw one down here. I mean, at this stage you can honestly, like, you know, it's nice to have the lines there, but it depends how experienced you are. So now we can chamfer those off. I'll use my cheese grater thing again, but from now on it doesn't take very long at all, which is really nice. Whew. Okay, be back. Right, here's the second chamfer done now, and you can just see the faint tracing of the line that was on there, kind of thing. I mean, at this stage, I don't think you really need to go through the rigmarole of, I mean, it's, you know, you can round it off now yourself by eye, sort of thing. I mean, I'll probably just run down this and knock that corner off to make it easier for myself, but like I say, you can bisect the distance again and go from there. But I know what I'm doing with it, but you might like to, you know, if it's your first neck or second neck, it's a safe way of doing it. So let me get that done. Well, I've just run through it again. It's all pretty quick now, but you know, I'll finish off the rest with a rasp. Like I say, that's just one method of doing a neck. If you're happier with a spoke shave, or making like templates and going for it like that, brilliant. You know, don't be swayed by my opinion, sort of thing. Just do it the best you can. But anyway, we'll get on and try and get this profile now. And honestly, it's just a case of getting the rasp and I'm finding that actually this maple is very hard. But one thing you've got to be careful of as well is, like, you don't carve any hollows in the neck, which is very easily done, and keep using a straight edge, making sure that you haven't got any hollows. What I'm going to do next is finalize the edge of the neck to the binding on the fretboard, just to get that a nice finished edge, and then carry on profiling it. Okay, I've now got that edge to within a gnat's cock of like the binding, sort of thing. The neck's still very bulky feeling to me, but it's just more of the same. Continue on and get it like thinned down and a nice profile in your hand. It's surprising how you know, how far off it feels when you're nearly there even. So don't go mad, creep down to it, sort of thing, and you know, sooner or later you'll get something like this, so it'll be nice. But anyway, I'm going to carry on. I'll get back to you. Right, okay, I've been tackling this neck for about half an hour, well, by hand for half an hour now. You can see that I've got the main, basically the main shaft of it very close to where I need to be. It's about 0.5 millimetre bigger than this now, measured at the 3rd fret and about the 10th fret. What I'm going to do now is, you can see that the end, the transitions to the headstock and the neck heel are really bulky, so I want to get those in the ballpark now, and it's very handy to have a neck to kind of copy and look at while you're doing it. And again, just be really careful of not carving too much off. I mean, I know that with the Telecaster, this area of the thing gets chamfered quite a lot, which is really nice to give the transition sort of thing. But yeah, I'll get working on those, and like I say, I've got a lot of experience doing it, so if you're doing it for around the first time, just be so careful that you don't take too much off. Very easily done when you're just basically looking at one area, concentrating, oh that looks nice, and then you realise that you've got a dip, which is horrible. But yeah, I'll bring you over and we'll tackle some of that, get going on it anyway. I mean, again, I like to use my cheese grater for it, but I'm used to doing it, by all means do it by hand. Right, I'm happy to kind of stop there with the cheese grater and then go by hand, but you can see that's much closer. There's plenty of meat left to do by hand, so let's try and do something with the neck heel now. Of course, this isn't on a Strat neck, so we've got nothing to copy, so let's just get rid of some of the wood so we can do it by hand. Well, again, I don't want to go any further than that by machine. I'm going to try and start finishing these off by hand now. I'll be using a similar tool, but let's find it. And well, if I could find, it's right in front of me, but same sort of thing again, but literally it's just a case of, sorry about that. You notice on the end of a fender neck here that you'll typically get something like that with the chamfer, and that's what you've got to aim for. We're kind of getting there with that edge now. It's looking very Telecaster-ish, and I'll leave that now where it is and do the other side here, and then we'll be fine-tuning as we go. So let's all roughly get it to where we need to be. Still looking very, very bulky, but you get the picture. I mean, that's been a 9-minute video now, which is getting a bit tedious. So let me switch you off, and I'll just bring you back when we've got quite close. Well, I think we're within finish at sanding now, so here's the neck, back profile and whatnot and stuff. It's almost identical to this one. Feels a bit fatter actually, but I'll have to measure it and see. I mean, it can be difficult because this is actually a 12-inch radius fretboard, whereas this is 9.5, so that can make it feel different, but it doesn't feel inordinately thick or anything like that. So, but there we go. Let's see and introduce it to the body, and we'll get an idea of what this thing will look like. So there we have the body now, and got a bit of glue in the fretboard. That should fit. So there we are. We're getting it's looking like a finished guitar. Everything fits really well. Let's see where we are with the neck. I mean, if this isn't straight, I'll be a bit pissed off, but yeah. So we're all right with that there, I think. The neck is very much in line of where it should be, and so there we go. I think that looks quite smart to me. That's exactly what I was envisaged when I started, sort of thing. But I don't know quite what's next now. I actually like I like the neck joint like that. Like everything about it, actually, really nice. So what I think I can work on doing now is the frets, start getting the frets level, so we've got something to go from to set the neck angle, and I think we'll all be good. Oh, it's time to have a rest indoors, I think.